Okay, this is the second episode or the continuation of that first ghost video that I put on. It's not a video because there's no video. There's just that headstone that says unknown as a thumbnail. Okay, if you haven't watched the first one, watch it because then you'll get an idea of what's going on here. It's on YouTube. We got to this little town. This David, the Aborigine guy, and me. I forget what his Aboriginal name was, but his English name was David. I didn't see him after the second day. I didn't see him first when we got there. That was the first day. Then the second day, I never saw him again after that. I was in this little town for a while, and the first night I spent there, I was in my sleeping bag that was a cold weather one. The mosquitoes were just, they would have killed me if I didn't close it up. One of the worst nights of my life, but that's nothing to do with this. Okay, I met these two brothers, and they lived in a caravan park. That's like a trailer park here. They call mobile homes and trailers caravans. Okay, so how this came up, I don't know, but they had a Ouija board, a homemade Ouija board, and it was on a piece of plywood about an inch thick, and it was roughly the same size, maybe exactly the same size as a Ouija board you buy in a novelty store or a toy store or wherever they come from. And, you know, it had from A to Z in an arc. They called Z in Australia. And then above that was a 0 to 9. And then there was a yes and no somewhere there. Okay, we put this Ouija board on this cement floor. That's the shed they lived in, about 12 by 12 tin shed. And they each had a bed in there, and I think that's about it. They had a little cook heater upper thing, whatever it was. Okay, so they put the Ouija board on the floor, on the concrete floor, and we sit around it like Indian style, with our legs crossed. I'm in the middle, facing the board, and there's a brother on either side of me, and we're close. Our knees could have been touching. Okay, they weren't, but they could have been. We were that close. And we used a glass as a planchet. The planchet's that thing you move around on the Ouija board. Now, a planchet that comes with the Ouija board slides so easily across that board. You could breathe on it and it will move. You put a heavy glass, any glass is heavy compared to a planchet, on a piece of plywood, and it's heavy. When it moves across that plywood, you hear it scrape, but it will still move. So anyway, we're there. And we were getting a response. And I'm trying to think of it. I don't remember it because it's not worth remembering, or I would remember it. But I think it was, I don't know, some guy, and he had a name and whatever. The brother that was doing the talking was to my right. And he said something to the effect that, do you know anybody here, or do you want to communicate with anybody here? Okay. Our fingers are just on the edge of this. You don't rest your finger on top of this glass. You don't put your fingers on the side of it. You just barely touch the tip of your finger on the rim of the glass. Okay, as soon as he said that, that glass started coming toward me. And it was about in the middle of the board, and it's coming toward me. It's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming. Okay, this is weird. The next instant, it's on the concrete floor, the glass. I didn't feel it tilt. And when it was coming toward me, when I knew that it was right close, I opened my eyes, and neither of these guys were holding that glass. And it was on the concrete, and you could hear it, and it seemed so loud with that glass sliding across the concrete floor toward me. And only moved like 2 or 3 inches because I'm right close to this board. Then it stops. It starts going back to the board, and it hits the edge of this board, and it goes maybe an inch to the right. The next thing, this is the fucking weirdo. It's on top of the board, the glass, and I'm watching it. It's on top of the board, and it's moving toward the middle again. The brother to my left said, I'm fucking out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. He really freaked him out. That's not the second time he got freaked out that night. So that was, I can't explain that. I can't explain most anything, but that's something that I don't know how anybody could explain it. Okay, when I first got to this town, even David said to me, we passed this building that was just a shell of a building. It had the like big plate glass windows in front. It was just a shell. There was nothing out the front. And apparently it was supposed to be a gas station. And there were 2 brothers building this gas station. And one got killed, I think, by a pile of gravel or whatever in front or inside the building or whatever. And the other brother committed suicide. Okay, so anyway, it was abandoned for a long, long time. And there was supposed to be the ghosts of these brothers hanging around this place. And I'd heard this before I even met these 2 brothers. David told me that. I heard it in town. I worked on this whaling station. People knew about the ghosts there. People would talk about it. I worked on a banana plantation. You could hear people, they would talk about the ghosts. These 2 ghosts were a well-known feature of this little town. Okay. I didn't, believe, I don't know if I believe, I was very skeptical about people, and the older I get, the worse I get. They said one of these 2 or whatever, or me, somebody made the suggestion, let's go down there. Now that we're all revved up with this Ouija board, let's go down and maybe there are ghosts. Maybe they're close enough to influence this Ouija board, just stupid shit like that. Let's go down there and see what's going on. Okay, so we walked from there, which was about probably, I guess, half a mile from where they were. We walked down the road, the main road. There's no traffic on the main road. There's no cars. Small town in the middle of fucking Australia, out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, we walk down there, and we get to the shell of this building. There's a barbed wire fence that's down. You can see the strands of barbed wire, but they're low to the ground, and there's weeds growing all over the place, and it's easy to step over this barbed wire fence onto that property, which was maybe the building was, say, 30 or 40 feet from the fence, and the fence is right off the road, 4 feet off the road. So we walk up to this building. And I opened my big mouth. I said something like, if there's any ghosts or spirits here or whatever, we don't want to do anything stupid. We don't want to make fun of you. We don't want to, we just, if we can help you in any way, or, just rattling on like that. We'd like to, if you make your presence felt, would be cool. All right, nothing's happening. Okay, so we can see this big plate glass window in front of us. Now, it's darker inside than it was where we were, and it's nighttime, so you can't see inside there. So unless you walk up to the window, and we were about 3 feet away, I guess, and you cup your hands around your eyes and you look in like that, you can see what's in there. Okay. This is kind of weird because, man, to do this, you don't know what you're going to see or think, and being young and stupid and excited and head up from the Ouija board like, fuck. Okay. I cup my hands, so do these other guys, and we look in there, and it's empty except for a big pile like of gravel close to the center there. Anybody there? Is there somebody there who want to say something? When we stepped back, nothing. Okay, well, that's it. Okay, too bad. We tried, and, maybe there's no such thing as ghosts. Maybe they just didn't like us or one of us or whatever. So we start heading back to where they lived. And we said, look, let's just sit here under these trees. There was a clear spot on the opposite side of the road to that place. Let's sit here and just contemplate on what's going on. Okay, one of the brothers, the guy that freaked out at the Ouija board, he pointed up to the trees and he said, look, there wasn't a leaf fluttering in the slightest breeze. It was as calm as the fucking grave 6 feet under the ground. And a black cat was across the street, walked straight across the street, straight between us and out into the bush. Now, this wasn't like a fat, tabby cat from somebody's house out roaming at night looking for mice to kill. This was a rangy, rough-looking tomcat and I've seen hundreds or maybe thousands of feral wild cats in Australia. That's what this thing was. And it wasn't afraid of us at all. And we just kind of watched it walk past. It was weird. But then that happened first. Then the guy said, look, the leaves weren't moving at all. And while we were standing at that what was supposed to have been a gas station, when we were standing there, when we stepped back from that window, a wind, not a breeze, a wind came from around the side of that building, flattened the long weeds, because this was weedy, everything was overgrown because nobody was doing anything with the property. And it swirled around us, and then it stopped. And he noticed that, and we didn't at the time because we were so intent on maybe a ghost appearing or maybe a sound or whatever. Me and the other guy, well, not one of us three expected or even acknowledged that the wind was blowing while we were there. None of us said, oh, look, there's a wind there. Maybe that's from the ghost. That didn't happen. We only realized. So the same guy that said that, he said, I'm out of here. Again, this was the second time that night. He said, I'm fucking not doing this. He went home. I said to the other guy, look, we got to go back there and say, look, you made the wind. You let us know that you were there. What can we do for you? All right. So we start walking back. We go to the other side of the road, which was the side of this place that was supposed to be a gas station when it's finished being built. We start walking down the road and we can hear voices coming down the road. So I said, look, let's get in the bush here. Let's just hide in here while let these guys walk past. And because you might know these guys and they say, oh, what are you guys doing out here? And we're going to look for the ghosts. They might think, oh, it's fucking laugh about it. Just waste time. So he said, yeah, good idea. Okay, so we're waiting. Well, all of a sudden, those voices start going the other way. I said, okay, these guys changed their mind. They're going back the other way. Well, this happened 2 or 3 times. The voices would get louder because they're coming toward us, then go away. And then we realized, I said, those voices are coming from right in front of that place, in front of that building. He said, yeah. I said, look, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here until a freaking car comes by. I don't care if it's all night long. And when it gets a car coming from behind us toward them, so when it passes us, I can step out into the road, and in the glare of the headlights, whoever those guys are will never see me in a million years, but I'll see them illuminated in the headlights. He said, okay, I'm staying here too. I said, great. So we waited a fucking long time. Here comes a vehicle. Here comes a car, little blue car, one of a kind, little tiny. Anyway, it's got like 4 people in it, and it goes by. It's not speed, it's just going at normal speed. As soon as it gets past us, I step out on the road. The other guy didn't. He stayed in the bushes. I stepped out on the road, and in their headlights, I see 2 guys on the opposite side of the road from that gas station, walking shoulder to shoulder. Their shoulders are touching. They're wearing plaid shirts. They call it tartan in Australia, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, they're walking. They're in front of the building on the opposite side of the road, and they're walking away from us and the car. The car gets to them, and they both turn and walk right in front of that car. The guy hits the brakes and then immediately takes his foot off the brake and continues on. I'm flabbergasted. I said, they just hit those 2 guys that were talking. So we run down there, and there's nothing. There was nobody. There's nobody in the road, nothing. I said to the guy that I was with, do you know where that car comes from? He said, yes. I know exactly where it is. I don't know the people, but I know where the car is. So I go the next day, and I find this car where he told me to look for it. There it is. It's a husband and wife and 2 sons about my age, but nobody was home except the woman. I knock on the door, and the door's open anyway. But I knock, and I see this woman. She's laying back on this bed, reading a book or whatever. I said, hello. She said, yeah, hello, I said, I got to ask you something that's really weird. And, you might think I'm a lunatic or whatever, but I have to ask you this. I said, last night I was on the road, and I forget what it is. And you guys went past that old gas station, and I saw you go past there because I was on the side of the road with my friend. I explained to her, but I didn't say we were there looking for ghosts. And I said, did you see anything unusual? She said, no, only the ghosts. That gave me goosebumps when she said that. She said, we see them quite often, She said, they walked right in front of us, and my husband automatically hit the brakes. I saw it happen. Okay, now maybe we all hallucinated. I don't know. If this is true, if it really, really happened the way I saw it, I don't fucking know. I have no idea. But I know what I saw. I know what that woman told me. I know what I heard from around town. And here's a weird thing. Well, before I made this, whatever this isn't a video, but I looked on Google Earth, and right now that place is a gas station and a little store. How long it's been that way, I don't know, because I haven't been back there for 50 fucking years. That tells you how old I am. And, I remember that vividly. So that's the end of episode 2. Stay tuned for number 3.